Hello, everybody. My name's Ian. I'm a volunteer here for the Mars Society, and this is a session that is titled "A Feasibility Study of Space Tourism Using Augmented Reality." So, our presenter here is the CEO of Eco-Astronomy Incorporated, a global network and senior research scientist at high altitude and extreme conditions, water conservation project of Ice Stupa. Currently, he is involved in analyzing NASA's EDR images of Meridiani Planum on Mars. He's an expert in simulating and analogues of planetary geology, especially as an extraterrestrial trace analyzer. Also, he works for reconstructing fossils via VR/AR. One of his companies, Research Hub of Eco-Astronomy, is a co-supporter of Project Space Hero, an upcoming reality television contest that plans to send a winner to the International Space Station in 2023. He has authored more than 40 international research papers, including 10 books. As an astrobiologist, Dr. Aravinda is researching fundamentals of extraterrestrial life and how planetary samples correspond with factors of paleontology and petrology. He has been setting out a harbor life explained by a union of the general theory of eco-astronomy, mechanics, and concepts. Dr. Aravinda is a Life Fellow of the United Nations Organization, SL. So, Doctor, you can take it away.
Thank you very much for Ian for having a nice introduction. I hope I'm audible.
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, let's start. Hi everyone. Today we're going to discuss one of part of our ongoing research. It is about the multidisciplinary in Earth-Mars analog via augmented reality technology, feasibility studies of the space type terrestrial tourism in Sri Lanka and the Morocco. So I'm Arvind Roybanu from Microeconomies Research Unit, and here are my research members: Majda Autitan, Jason Kennedy, Abdul Lagnawi, Akash Anand, Adip Nizar, and the Buddhikadati Sindha. So actually, everyone who is interested in space type activities are really curious about the Mars. Because of within the next decade, it is speculated that human will build a habitat on Mars to conduct research and make a long-term settlement, including the Herbalife station. So that's why to the strategic understanding of the Mars, we are processing Earth-Mars analog in sometimes physical mode, in sometimes virtual mode. So actually, in a physical mode, most of you are familiar with the how scientists are heading to the extreme environmental conditions, and they just wearing some sort of like suits and collecting some of data from the fields and taking those samples and bring back to the laboratories and having some of like chemical test. So all the type of activities belongs to the physical analogs or physical simulation, as well as we can't forget the virtual type of activity. It means like how can we use virtual reality and the augmented reality for those Mars analog things. That's the most important part. So well, today our key dominant application based on the augmented reality. It is for providing a knowledge and upgrading the environment relevant to the space type terrestrial tourism. In here you can see some sort of like layout of the tourism. So basically you are familiar with the domestic and the international tourism. Everyone knows it. But how about the space type of tourism? That's why we create some of like few applications to aware and the providing the knowledge and the research activity and what kind of connectivity that we can build up based on the augmented reality, space tourism, and the micro type of business. That is the initial layout of the our research. So it means like soon space tourism will be play huge role after the domestic and international tourism. So it means like in practical intentions of underpinnings of our research is to test a thinking ability of the human pattern to understand space type knowledge in business and what kind of applied applications that they can develop, and also what is the research environment that we can use for developing those things, and the second part, so what kind of effectivity to having a great something like experience based on those type of things. That's the things we have to be concerned of based on the who around the our research. That is something like very simply abstract about the our objective. Let's check about something our applications, because that's the most interesting part that I'm looking for introducing you. So let's check this. The first, the simply idea of the augmented reality is after we creating a virtual type of model, it's possible to synchronize in real environment. Here I can just plot out some of like our methodological flow, what we have been done in a very simple way, designing some of like model by using the Blender 3D. After that, we creating a marker in a location base, and this type of application we can put it to some of like our mobiles like Android or iOS. That's why we need to using Euphoria type AR engine, we had to creating those things. After we creating a model, the most important part is awareness and trying to test with the real environment. So the first sector, the simulations, we use models like something Mars Curiosity rover and space shuttle and some of like capsules and the 3D reconstructed Mars environment. So then what we have been done, we just blended all into the real environment and taking some more photograph and creating a small video to get a quick understanding for the everyone. And the test trial has been run with some of open source extensions and models. And the first stage, we have been syncing to the urban city area, just like hotels and some of shopping malls, restaurants, and that's the something like usual way. So here the video, you can just check some of like really interesting part what we have been done. So then we introduce our applications to the selected hotels located in upcountry area in Sri Lanka, as well as down south area in Sri Lanka. Also update them to upgrade few of factors by using the augmented related, because of what the things that we have been created, how to blend in with their premises. That's the challenge. It means like we have been already discussed with them how to updating the sum of interior design by using the augmented reality and the way of serving food, and how can we apply the augmented reality parts for that case, and as well as some of like nature queries and the routable track that we can just provide with the augmented reality. It's almost like something like very challengeable one, but most of the customers that we have been provided, so they adapted and they created some of like very interesting part. So as mentioned in here, there's other things that we have been done, and the most important thing to update them about those knowledge. That's the huge task. So that's why we have been finalized two books about the geotourism as well as extreme conditions by based on the fossils. It means like a paleontology. And we include some of like applied type application into those two books and providing who around the Sri Lanka by supporting of the some of government institutions. Right now, they know now. This is the way how they can apply those augmented reality and the tourism sector and how we going to blend that space part. That's very interesting. Now we can just check something like our feedback. So you can see here there is one of physical part and the virtual part. You can see the behind something like a doom. It's an actual scenario, but the in front of the rover it's a augmented reality developed one. So it's a very interesting modifications in some of micro type of hotels with the capsule and the sharing their applications with the customers. And even though you see there's some practical experience that they had with the nice time with the environment, almost like a Mars. And you see that conditions are positively affecting to the get much more attentions of the tourist and even develop their business into the next level. This is something like very interesting, but actually it's a very small step. There are a lot of parts to continue in this research. So as a second part of the research, we selected a few in-situ exact similarity places to synchronizing those models in real environment like Usaangoda in Sri Lanka and the Central Atlas Mountain in Morocco. So you can see the right hand side, it's a totally reddish one, it's a Usaangoda, and the left hand side, it's a Moroccan Atlas Mountain. The, the, the reddish one, it's a very important place because of its content with the highly concentrations of the iron, almost like a mass. So I will discuss about this place in later regarding the physical analog. It means like how when we convert these virtual activities into the physical analog activities. So this place also we have been blended with a few different modules, and we asking to be most of people to join us because of this area is archaeological site as well as wildlife heritage site. So these two domains are really perfectly affecting to the our work because of lot of visitors are all around this area, and suddenly when we are working with this project they come in and asking some of like part and how gonna be proceed, and some of people who working in the hotels, restaurant, and some of fishermen, and at the end there's gonna be something like a perfect awareness work, even though we have blended some of things like the capsule, the rover, and the astronaut suit and Dragon space. Actually, the previously they didn't heard anything about this kind of technology, and even though some sort of like parts, even it's something like very newly subject for the even school student and the teachers. So that's how we providing something like awareness of our research activities in Usaangoda area. And here I would like to share some of like little video, and behind the scene you can see there are some of people are moving. It's a very interesting landscape which is very similar to the Mars when we are study about the Martian soil. So in the near future, what we are trying to do, collecting some of like keep videos and having a documentary to get much more attentions of the people. So then the next part, this is the most important thing because of how those virtual type of activities that we're going to be converted into the a physical type analog, because of this selecting that reddish soil, basically we call it serpentinite soil. Those type of soil are formed by the ultramafic formations. It means like so behind of the scenery there are some of like volcanic activities, and it's content to be highly dominate concentrations of the iron. And in here, after we collecting some of samples and doing XRD type analysis, it means like a mineralogical analysis, we thoroughly identify few of like high concentrations of elements, and then we have been compare few of specific sites in the Mars. But the most important questions we also waiting until the Mars sample return mission, because of after that we can exactly identify what are those type of elements and what kind of similarity and differentiate in between the Martian soils and the serpentinite soil. For why? Because we know that some of plant species have been adapted to this area. It's very extreme because of it's only few plant species are adapting to the area. In here I will share one of video you can see. So we have been classified few of type of plants which is thoroughly adapted to this area, and after that what I mean like having the mass sample return to understanding all the data, so we can suggest yes these type of plants maybe in the future we can grow up in the Martian soil. So so this is another project. That's why we highlighted this topic as multidisciplinary factors. It means like a multidisciplinary approach into the augmented reality. Then we are going to be converting to the physical type analogues. And at the end, I would like to highlight a few of recommendations and conclusions. It means like so providing in the future actually we are looking for produce more AR type applications to simulate extreme environment and design strategic model to get much more attention of the tourists. And also you see there are huge connectivity in between space tourism and the domestic tourism and the international tourism, and how those parts are blending into the eco and geo-type tourism. Because of in the future we need a lot of clients because of space type tourism, something like very new domain. But in the ground level we have to be starting and we have to keep moving with our people and awareness, having awareness and educate them and show them about the research and highlighting some of like economical benefits what they have, and the processing with much more chemical and the landscape type data to understanding about the Mars. That's what we are trying to do our second stage of the research, and also providing more strategic comparative Earth Mars analog models in purpose of the research and industrial level. Because of currently we are working on some of like innovation by using those soil like creating blocks and having some of different type of nano treatment applications to understanding about the carbon dioxide concentrations and the acidic concentration and how those things are affecting to the weathering and erosion activity, something like that. Okay, that is something like very abstract discussions about our ongoing research, and I would like to thank our research institute and all our assistants. very special thanks goes to the Mars Society because of each every year they have been arranged this type of convention, and it's a very outstanding work. So this is the way. We'll see. Thank you very much, everyone. If you guys have any questions, now it's time to ask.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you very much,
Hi.
Dr. Sumanratna.
Yeah.
Augmented reality, I think, in my opinion, is very interesting and very exciting. I think it's as futuristic as it gets, right? My question is there any way for people to interact with the AR objects? Because I imagine when people see the AR objects, they want to interact with it in some way.
Yeah, that's a good question because of even though I believe most of people are not that much familiar with the augmented reality, they exactly know what it was like. That's why we had to starting from the something like very ground level and update them. What are the compatible stages? It means like that's why we introduced how gonna we create micro-type business by using the augmented reality. Now it's running in here. uh, I'm not going to say it's 100% success, but most of people are really interested of it, especially like they are just trying to take in some images with the food and trying to work in with the nice trays. But usually those things can do some of people in the tourism sector. And same time, it's not about the business because of we can provide some of like space type knowledge about the Mars colonizations and something like extraterrestrial life, and it's all the thing. You know, the last time I heard like the one of hotel that we have been provided, now they have been changed the name of their recipes, like a martini soups and something like martini cheese, and they have been highlighted it in their restaurant. So actually it's something like very small modification, and at the end it's become a huge turn. It's just a beginning. We'll see what will happen in the future.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Arvinda, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Jira.
Dr. Arvinda?
Yes.
I have.
Yes. Yes, Jira.
All right.
Yes.
So first things first, thank you so much for this very important topic that you have shared with us today. Indeed, virtual reality and augmented reality is the next type of project that all humanity, I believe, we should focus in, because augmented reality and virtual reality will like empower plenty of field of research and studies to be developed. I believe this project is very interesting. Thank you very much for your explanations and all the objective you have shared with us today, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you.
Yes. Jason. Yeah, Jira also here. Yeah, it's really glad to see you all. Yeah.
What comes from that is then the question of if you are putting this into an environment where you want people to engage in a more authentic way in terms of what it would like to actually be on Mars, are there specific types of environments or objects that you have plans for creating in the future? And if so, what guides you in choosing what those objects would be?
I think that's a very important question because of the models that we're going to create, how those things are affecting to the future activities. Yes, exactly. I think we have to keep following with the Mars colonizations program because of there are some of like exact models in the upcoming future that we like a different type of institutions that they are going to be developed on the Mars. So I think it's better if we have some sort of like a guideline. Yes, these are something like models that we need to keep training, and similarity model that we can find specific places. I'm not meaning like we need to something like exact models to thinking inside of the extreme environmental condition. Because of extreme environmental condition, we can do something like a physical type analog. But same place, if we can proceed with the virtual and the analog, that will be much more sense, because of definitely we have to go with some like strategic data. So that's why I mentioned like we had to waiting until mass sample recognition. So everyone is curious to see, even though in the future there are a lot of work to you also to design some of things, and even though currently like mass precedence or a lot of activities they are applying with the augmented type of activities. So that's why we have to exactly think what are the applied applications and the effectivity, not only for the tourism.
And the just one other thing too, to add a little bit to the answer to the first person's question, which was the ability to interact with the objects. That is largely dependent on the type of the augmented reality system that you're working with. Like an HTC Vive has controllers that you can interact with objects. It comes down to the interactivity that you've built into the environment, the virtual environment side of things. So, in initial stages, obviously, you're kind of planning just to do a demo. Here, look at these cool objects. But in the future, you can then start planning for, how do you want people to interact with them, and do you want it to be where they can feels like they go inside and are immersed into this environment, or do they just get to play with things on the outside? And a lot of that is somewhat technologically determined based on the equipment that you can, if it's at a resort, or if it's at a tourist center, or wherever it's at, what do they have access to, and what can you provide them access to? So it will be determined based in part on that.
Thank you very much, Jason.
Cheers.
It's a good comment. And even Jason is one of our co-author of this project, and then we are really glad to be also here right now. Is there any questions? So we can just proceed, like any type of physical type of analog questions.
Well, it looks like there's no other questions, and in about 2 minutes, the next presentations will be starting.
Yes, yeah. And Ian, thank you very much for your supporting and the cooperation.
Oh, yeah.
Presenting myself. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you for presenting here.
Yeah. And everyone's in here, thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. I'll see you all later.
Okay. See you then. See you.